Welcome to That's a Tap with CT and DJ. We're breaking down and the preview of the Perth 305 card. I'm with the last Stylebender's biggest fan, DJ. How you doing?
Hey man, good, good. How are you? How's life?
A lot better. We've been waiting for this one, and it's come up real quick. How do you feel about the card? There's been a lot of talk about it. In the lead up, we were anticipating it, watching it closely. Are you satisfied with the card?
Absolutely. 100%, man. 100%. Like, I think it's a good card, solid card, stacked card. It started off strong anyway because the main event was such a strong main event. Uh, then some more fights got added. I think definitely one of the better cards this year. Have there been more? Have there been some other cards that have been better? Absolutely, yes. But having said that, um, man, for a card down under, I think traditionally we've got good cards, but they always either are top heavy and sort of the local talent not as much. I mean, whereas in this case, top to bottom, you got local talent. The main card is solid, pretty good fights. All fights with serious implications towards the rankings in their respective divisions. Entertaining fights, man, you name it, it's got it. We got some fighters returning back from injury, like Jack Jenkins. I mean, the only people missing looking at the card is Rob Whitaker and Jack Della, and we know that for obvious reasons, Rob's got his own fight lined up in a couple of months, and then we've got Jack Della nursing an injury. So yeah, man, pretty excited. Solid card. I mean, like the main event, like that had me sold straight away. After what happened last September in Sydney, obviously Israel Adesanya let us know that he's going to take some time off, and we were kind of worried. I was worried, like how long is that going to be? Like obviously, the sport is exciting with him in it, and he's one of those rare individuals who carries that superstardom very well, and carries that excitement throughout not only fight week but into the fight as well. So I was very excited when they did announce it, made it official. He's coming back exactly 11 months after. Seems reinvigorated, but man, like Dricus seems game as well. Dricus has been confident, man. Like he's not a man to be counted out, and he's shown that across his last few fights. Um, and core main, man, what a core main event. We got Kai Kara returning, Steve Erceg. Like I mean, if you didn't know much about him before his last fight, I'm sure like the whole world knows him now. Some even consider him, and I do, the people's champ. Arguably beat the current champion in many people's scorecards and opinions. Um, Riding high on confidence, a lot of stock behind him. We got Gamrot in the car taking on the fan favorite Dan Hooker. Surprised that fight's not the main card opener, but then again, you got Li Jingliang opening the main card, so I've got no issues there. And then you got Tai Tuivasa coming back as well, taking on Jairzinho Rosenstrike. Obviously, Lee's fighting Carlos Pratis.
Yeah, yeah, really looking forward to it and happy with this lineup, and obviously some challenges, we've talked about the travel, the names, the tax issues from foreigners and all of that, DJ, but no surprise that it's mainly filled with locals and
Yeah,
really talented locals. Again, that's just a huge shout out to our region that we can basically fill an entire pay-per-view, outside of Gamrot, and Rosenstrike and Li Jingliang, they're all
absolutely.
they're all from the region.
100%, man. Like, and keep in mind, like I said, Rob Whitaker's not fighting in this card. Alexander Volkanovski, man, how do we forget that? Alexander Volkanovski is not fighting in this card. Jack Della Maddalena is not fighting in this card. And then if you go look at New Zealand, Carlos Alberg's not fighting in this particular card. So there's a lot of talent that's actually not in the card as well, and yet the card is stacked. I think Junior Tafa's fighting, but I don't think Justin Tafa is he? Yeah. So there you go. There's another one. Justin Tafa's not fighting as well. So some big names still missing. But nonetheless, it's a strong card, and that sort of speaks volumes as to how much the sport's grown in our region. And it's not just the volume, but the quality as well. I mean, look at these fighters, who are fighting. Look at the quality of them. They're all top tier fighters, like top of the division. So yeah, man, pretty excited. I'm actually really excited. This is one of those cards where I'm going to be tuning in early. I know it's look, we're not strangers to this timing because even if it is happening in America, that's the timing we get, and it's the same thing. it's not as brutal as what the UK fans had to go through last month. So I'm not no complaints. Probably a little bit early for the Perth crowd, um, but like for us, we'll start at 10 a.m. I know CT, you're going to be in Perth, so obviously an early start for you. But yeah, like you were saying, maybe the boost may not be selling as fast as you never know. Hey, with our fan, the group of fans we have, man, like you never know. I mean, we bring the thunder, and we saw that last time when the UFC was in Perth, when in Sydney. You know what I mean? We're a solid fan base for the UFC, and the UFC knows it. And yeah, man.
Yeah, as we reach the main event, we'll work our way down and then we'll give our predictions at the end of this episode as well. Appreciate you for tuning in and give us a like button on YouTube and let us know in the comment section your thoughts about these matchups as we go through it, DJ. But yeah, you mentioned the booze, man. I reckon by the time we get to the main event, booze will be flowing by then.
Yeah.
The crowd, look out for the best crowd, guys. The Perth crowd
Yeah.
is very loud.
When I say booze, I don't mean like boo. I mean like booze. Yeah, like beer, like alcohol. That's what I meant. Oh man, yeah, like
No
super
doubt.
excited. Very jealous. I'm not gonna be there, but man, like I said, like obviously, the schedule didn't work out, unfortunately. But look, the talent like this, and time and time again, we prove how loyal our fan base is. I'm not, it's only a matter of time before we get another card in Melbourne. And yeah, look, I'm super keen for that.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, credit to, again, the region and UFC for continuing to come down under and bless us with these big events. But, you know, arguably one of the biggest main events of the year, right? It hasn't happened yet. But just looking at it, this has been a storyline, DJ, that's been brewing for a long time now. How excited are you that we finally get to see Israel Adesanya in his comeback now against Dricus?
Man, I mean, to say that I'm excited is an understatement. As I said, Israel Adesanya is a generational talent. And he is coming back after a small hiatus from the sport. Obviously, clearly, he spoke about burnout. He spoke about his continued activity. And look, man, we see that it is actual facts. I mean, look at what other champion right now, and even in the past, has been as active as Israel Adesanya. He was one of the most active champions. He fight every 3 months, and sometimes that does take a toll on you. And that's probably something that we saw impact his performance in Sydney. Especially the mental fatigue. For him to take time off was very crucial, and I think that is going to just add to his skill set, add to his fire that's within him too. And I think he's always been a fighter who's chased greatness. He's always someone who's fought with more than for more than just the belt. And we've seen that it's about building a legacy, building his resume, and we see that. I mean, hey, how many people in the UFC? How many people in the UFC can say they've knocked out Alex Pereira? Do you mean look at the people who have tried to do it? Look at some of the power punches that have tried and not been able to do it, right? And look what, yes, there is that record of 3-1, but yes, still, to be able to go with that hanging over you and get a finish like that, just speaks volumes to his mental fortitude. And, now he's taken time off, he's reinvigorated himself, energized, coming back and taking on a game opponent, man. Like I said, Dricus is a worthy champion. He is not there by chance, right? And we talk about sometimes you find yourself at the right spot at the right time, and you find yourself catapulted up to a title shot, and somehow win a title. Whereas Dricus, you can argue, has fought sort of everyone, including the number one contender. In my books, if you beat Robert Whitaker, you're fighting for a title next. Right? That's the level of that's the standard that I've kept Robert Whitaker at, in terms of it. He's one of the best middleweights of all time, and to be able to do that, and there's always that mindset that it's always going to be Israel Adesanya and Robert Whitaker at the top, and then the rest will just sort of accumulate below them. Whereas Dricus proved us wrong, man. We had Robert Whitaker as a heavy favorite, not just us, everyone, and he went and proved us wrong. Not only did he get the win, but he finished an incredible fighter, and then goes on and takes the title from Sean Strickland. It was a close fight, yes, but it was a fight. I felt Dricus did win that fight, and he did get that belt. Close fight. A little bit surprised that rematch didn't take place, but things aligned, and eventually this matchup had to be made. We know the history. We know the promos that were cut. Obviously, it didn't work out because Dricus had that injury, toe injury, or leg injury, and then he couldn't compete in Sydney last September. Sean Strickland stepped in, and we all know what happened. So that matchup with that sort of somewhat bad blood was put at risk because of that. Now we've given another opportunity to be able to see that. And I think that just adds to the storyline. We saw the most recent press conference that was held in Perth to promote the fight, and we saw both guys are confident, man. No one. I felt like if you were to ask me, okay, good, if you were to score a winner at the press conference, who are you going to score? I won't be able to because I felt like both of them had their moments and both of them looked ultra confident. I mean, that face off was one for the ages, right? Both parties refused to back off. And the one thing I've noticed in Dricus is his unwavering belief in himself. He always believes, even when no one else believes, that he's able to get things done. He's able to get take the fight to where it needs to be taken and get the win. And he's proven that, man. And I think it's a bit harsh to be sort of doubting him. I definitely don't doubt him anymore. I do think he's one of the top tier middleweights at the moment. And he's coming, he's fighting, he's defending his title against one of the legends of not just the middleweight division, but of the UFC. So it is a recipe for fireworks, especially the storyline. Dricus is a constant pressure fighter. Israel Adesanya is a counter striker, top tier elite striker. One of the best, if not the best striker in the UFC. So man, there's going to be a lot of scenarios that could play out. But as fans, the one thing that's guaranteed is for us to be able to sit back and enjoy whatever unfolds.
Yeah, there's legacies on the line with this one in terms of the comeback, as well as the belt now with Dricus. Just like you said, the recipe for what's to come and what this will set up is just huge. That said, let's hear your thoughts on how it'll unfold. Styles and then prediction.
Man, I think Dricus is going to come in with that level of confidence that he's going to show. Sorry, that he's shown so far, and I think he's riding high on having got some good wins, solid wins. He's proven to us that he can go up, 5 rounds with no issues. He did that with Strickland, who is a pressure fighter himself. It was a high-paced fight, and he kept that pace. So we know cardio is not going to be an issue. He seems like he's in top shape. Don't think the chatter is going to bother him. He's going to be focused. He's going to be focused with the task at hand. He asked for Adesanya, even after beating Strickland. He asked for Adesanya straight away. So it's a fight that he's been wanting for a very long time. So he's going to be coming in ultra focused. And then on the other end, we've got Israel Adesanya, man. Like, he's a like true martial artist. We've got a lot of fighters currently across multiple organizations, but very little artists who paint, the picture of martial arts, and he's one of them. And he's a, it's when he's flowing, it's an absolute beauty to watch and to be a spectator. And I think skill wise, there's no doubt. He's one of the best, unrivaled in terms of greatness. And he had that sort of, I guess, fatigue that caught up to him. I'm keen to see how that 11 months. I mean, looking at sort of what he's been doing, especially on social media, he seems like he's enjoying, what he's doing. He's ventured into different avenues. Sort of been enjoying life and sort of getting his focus back, and even in the gym. I mean, fitness wise as well. And both of these guys look like they're in the shape of their lives, right? Uh, Adesanya's made it clear he's not coming for the belt. He's not bothered about the belt. He wants this fight under his belt. He wants a win. And my prediction, man, like it's going to be, I feel like it's going to be new. It's going to be Israel Adesanya. I feel like it's going to be a TKO or a KO. The only reason I say that, man, is challenge Adesanya is a different level Adesanya, man. Like I mean, he's had some great performances, but if you look at some of his best performances, they've been him as a challenger. one against Robert Whitaker in Melbourne. We were there live. Then the other in Miami against the great Alex Pereira. Both times he was a challenger, and they were both one of the best performances of his life. And then also, how can we forget the interim fight that he had with Kelvin Gastelum? That was a fight of the year for that year. So I think Challenger Adesanya brings out a whole new Adesanya, and we're going to see him after a break as well, right? So he's reinvigorated, re-energized. I just think skill set wise, Adesanya edges him a little bit. Dricus du Plessis has got the dog in him. He's got the willpower. He will go to the end. But I just feel like he's going to find some openings and he's going to land the shots that he needs to land. That's my prediction. But it is a close
Yeah,
fight. Like I always say, it's a close fight.
yeah, definitely. Two esteemed fighters matching up in this one, and anything can happen in this game, like you said. Definitely, it's going to be more fascinating for me personally to see how Izzy looks, in such a layoff. Or he hasn't had this much time off in a while. So he could either come back and look an even better version. I wouldn't put it past that he's, even better, or there's some little bit of rust. Nothing would shock me. Dricus is a heck of a guy in terms of he can do basically everything. When he decides he wants to come forward, it'd be interesting to see who dictates the pace of the action as well. Who comes forward more? I'm probably going to lean towards Dricus, maybe coming forward more, and Izzy being early on the counter as well. But I'm going to go with the same prediction. I think Israel Adesanya. It'll be a heck of a comeback story. I just think
Yeah,
think they're both so evenly matched, but Israel will play the smart game if he executes like he does. He reads his opponent better than anyone in the game, and I think he'll find holes, DJ,
yeah,
in Dricus's armor, and he'll get the win. What do you think?
yeah, man, spot on. Like I mean, that's what I like. I do feel like Adesanya find a way. The last style bender will prevail. And I think, obviously we haven't seen a run. We thought like after that Pereira fight, we'll see another run of defenses when we haven't unfortunately seen it. The whole Sean Strickland fight happened. But here's like, I know like we probably will talk about this in our recap, but if Israel Adesanya wins, do you think Dricus du Plessis gets a immediate rematch, or do you think Sean Strickland gets that? Do you think Israel Adesanya will want to avenge that title loss to Dricus, to Sean Strickland?
That's a great question. I really think that Dricus won't get a rematch straight away.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah,
Israel, if Israel comes back and wins the belt, yeah, he'll probably earn a Strickland
yeah,
rematch, and then obviously we've got Rob Whitaker
yeah.
versus Hamzat.
Hamza, man. Like, so that's the big storyline, I reckon, is that if Izzy wins and if Rob Whitaker wins in October, the appetite for that third fight may not be as much as if a Hamza wins. Like, let's be honest, if Hamza Chimaev wins in October, they're making that fight, man. They're making that title fight. They're not gonna. The UFC's been waiting to push Hamza, like obviously because he's got that star power, he's got that big region behind him, and they've been wanting that opportunity. So if Hamzat's able to get the job done, we know for a fact that he gets the title shot. The UFC will get that title shot, the title made. And that's no question. Now, what happens is if Israel Adesanya wins and if Robert Whitaker wins, I feel like Israel Adesanya will fight Strickland and Rob Whitaker will fight Dricus. I feel because obviously Rob Whitaker has that loss to Dricus, and I'm sure Rob Whitaker wouldn't mind that. And then the winner will fight for the title again. But if Dricus wins, it obviously makes it a little bit different. And if Rob wins as well, it'll be interesting. Will they make that rematch? That Strickland fight happen because that was also a close fight. I think either way, Strickland probably has a good chance of a title shot unless Hamzat wins. So Strickland's probably praying and hoping that um, Rob beats Hamzat just so that his title chances.
Yeah.
Does he deserve it? Absolutely. Like I think he had a close fight and he beat the great Israel Adesanya. So yeah, no questions. But it's just a matter of how things play out. But let's wait and see, man. That's the best part about this sport is that there's so many scenarios and every single one of them is exciting. Talking of which, man, like I know we'll probably talk about it later, but I just want to mention that 306 card. Is it 306? No, 308. The Abu Dhabi one. What is that? This is 305. We have 306 in September. Man, that's a stack. That's probably the most stacked card for the year, if I'm not mistaken. Jesus Christ. Ilya Topuria, Max Holloway, Rob Whittaker, Hamza Chimaev, Cyril Gahn, Magomed Ankalaev, Rakic, Volkov, whew, Dan Ige. Man, that's just ridiculous. That's a hell of a card. I think that's as traditionally October and November cards are some of the best cards that UFC's always done that, and I'm super excited, man. I was wondering how they were going to say that without Islam Makhachev, and man, they delivered.
Yeah, it is shaping up to be an absolute gem. But obviously, let's talk about the co-main event: Kai Kara France versus Steve Erceg. Steve Erceg, not been in the UFC too long, DJ, but against the Kiwi, who's also been out a little bit, Kai Kara
Hmm.
France. How do you see that matchup?
Man, interesting matchup, exciting matchup. Clearly, number one contender fight. We all know that. I'm a bit surprised Steve Erceg didn't get the rematch, given there was no clear contender. But I think, to be fair to Kai Kara France, who obviously was away from an injury, but also his last fight, let's be honest, man, he won that fight against Albazi. This was a trash decision. So technically, he's coming off of a win, had to be forced out of action. Um, yeah, I don't. Yeah, look, we know what happened with Marvin Mukayev. So yeah, Erceg and Kai Kara are now going to battle it out for that number one contender fight, and it's going to be exciting, man. Kara France is a very exciting fighter, and so is Steve Erceg, and he showed that. He took Pantoja to the brink. He took him to the very edge. So yeah, man, it's pretty crazy. What about you?
It is. It's going to be like I'm just excited to see Erceg again because he really impressed me in in that Pantoja title fight. But Kai Kara France, he has my respect because he's always been a fierce competitor and he's always fights really aggressively. So with that said, like I expect that one to be fireworks. To be honest, I really do think that one is going to probably be, if not a stoppage, it'll be a lot of like action, just
It was
non-stop.
action.
Yeah, how do you see
It
it?
is. Yeah, it's got like fight of the night written all over it, right? I feel like it does. Um, Man, it's a tough fight to call, to be honest, because if like obviously Kai Kara is really good too. Steve Erceg is really good. Kai Kara's got the experience under his belt, but Steve Erceg also showed that it's not too big of a deal that he doesn't have much experience because he went against Pantoja, the champion of the division, and did what he did. Um, Man, it's definitely going to be a majority stand-up fight. It's going to be an action-packed fight. Like I said, I'm calling it to be fight of the night. I've got this weird feeling it could go the distance just because of how evenly matched they are. It's going to be experience against activity. So Steve Erceg's been active, got the confidence after that fight with Pantoja, even though it was a loss. And then we've got Kai Kara, who's got like that immense experience under him. He's fought Brandon Moreno, he's fought Roy, he fought some of the big names in that division. I'm gonna, man, look, after that last performance with Pantoja, and I want to be fair, Steve Erceg, man, I'm going to go with Steve Erceg. I think he's going to get the job done. It could be a decision or a knockout. It won't be a submission.
Yep, we're agreeing on this one again with Erceg. I think, yeah, I mean, like I alluded to before, I think he's on the track to win the title. And I think, it's kind of a little unlucky that he had to take this rather than get he deserved a rematch, I felt, right after
Yep,
the Pantoja matchup. But with this one, being the local kid, he had to be on this card. I get it. But
yep,
really looking forward to seeing him, prove to everyone that he's ready. Um,
yep.
with that said, and then yeah, your thoughts, and then the third fight.
Man, we got Dan Hooker coming back, fighting Matu's Gamrot. I was so glad this fight got made because Dan Hooker was calling for a fight. No one was willing to come down for multiple reasons. And I was hoping, look, at this point, or before this fight goes, at this point, let anyone, come down. Because having Danuka fight in any card, it's just excitement, man. Again, like another fight of the night contender. But obviously, as opposed to the previous fight, the core main, both parties they throw, right? Whereas in this, like I think Gamrot does have like some sort of it's how do I say, sort of like a grappling heavy approach that could sort of hamper that ability to sort of like stand and bang, like a better word. So yeah, Dan Nuka, man, exciting fighter. I was so glad the fight got made, and in addition to that, so glad that it was Matuz Gamrot. It was a top five fighter. Or he's in the top of the division. I think he's probably a couple of wins away from knocking on that contender spot. And a win over Gamrot could mean a lot to Dan Uka's sort of career in terms of his title aspiration. Sorry, in being able to sort of leapfrog some of those in the division and get another big name fight. Because I know he hasn't had the best of luck, but he did beat um, um, Jalen Turner in his last fight, and he obviously has had a bit of a break as well. So they're all the city kickboxing guys are coming off of a small break. Exciting fight, big, especially more so for Dan Uka than Gamrot. Gamrot's got a lot more to lose, I guess, than the other way around for Dan Uka, where he's got a lot to gain. And he's going to come in with that mentality. I feel like he's going to come in with that mentality. I've got nothing to lose. Like if I win this, and if I win this in spectacular fashion, I'm right back at the top. That's sort of his mentality. That's what he's going to be. And Danuka is like a fighter's fighter. He comes to fight, and I think he's going to come in heavy. He's going to look for those openings. He's very sharp in terms of striking. His boxing is crisp. He's one of those few people who could stand and bang with Dustin Poirier, and we know how good Dustin Poirier is. So yeah, man, I'm expecting Dan Uka to get the job done. Look, obviously Matuz Gamrot's going to try and take the fight to where he's more comfortable. He's also, man, like I don't want what I said before to be perceived as Gamrot's a boring fighter. He's not. Like if you want any proof of that, go watch Gamrot versus Sarukian. Right, that was a purely grappling heavy fight, but it was one of the most exciting fights I've ever seen in my life. So I think Gamrot's obviously going to come in to try and look. There was mixed responses from his last fight as well. So Gamrot probably wants to prove a point to be able to put a stamp on that title contention. So again, like I said again, he's got a lot to lose. I mean, losing here could mean a big drop in the division for him. It's going to be a little bit of pressure. It's going to be the home crowd advantage for Dan Hooker. Yeah, so I'm going to go with Dan Hooker. I think he's
Yeah,
going to get the job done, man. I think he's going to get it done.
yeah, confident, and I think yeah he's been out for a while, so I do think that he will definitely, like you said, come out with fireworks and want to make a statement. Don't rule out the home crowd factor, and we know Dan Hooker's from New Zealand, but obviously he is the more local talent, and so I think this is one of his toughest opponents, but he's tough to crack, Gamrot. But
Yep.
yeah, Hooker, he takes risks. He's exciting. It's why the fans adore him, and basically he's got I mean, anytime he's on a card, the fans like even if you're not Australian or Kiwi, you you appreciate some of the battles and the performances he's had. So I'm
Yep.
also going to agree with you. I think Hooker
Oh,
got to go with
hey,
the
we're going to line
local.
up this time, eh?
Yep.
Then we got the heavyweight fight, man. That's gonna be a great fight. Tai Tuivasa. You can never have a boring fight with Tai Tuivasa. You never can. Home crowd, man. He's gonna get the biggest pop, I reckon. In the and his walkouts are iconic for the song choices, sort of his antics, post fight, pre fight. I'm very excited. I'm a simple man. I see Tai Tuivasa. I watch that fight. And he's fighting Yazinho Rosenstrike, who's coming off of a win. And Rosenstrike at one point was, considered to be the next big thing in that heavyweight division until he ran into Francis Ngannou, and then things obviously turned around. That first knockout always stays in you, and I think he became gun shy a little bit, you could say. But he's sort of since then sort of gone back to his fundamentals, and he's more technical with his fights. Tai Tuivasa fights only one way. He comes and he comes to throw down. And man, it's hard to pick Tai Tuivasa in Australia. It's hard. He feeds off that energy. He doesn't take a back. He doesn't take a back foot. He just comes in and throws, and I think he's going to land. He's a heavy punch. Taito Iwasa is one of those fighters who, like, man, he sat Garn down, right? Remember that? So yeah, he's got that power to knock anyone out, and I feel like he's going to find Rosenstrike's chin, and I think yeah, he's going to get the knockout.
That was insane. You remember, he took me back with that with the Garn knockdown.
Yeah.
But look, with Tuivasa, obviously he's had his downs recently, and he's he's so prideful. Anytime he wants to be on these local cards and he wants to perform, but it just hasn't gone his way like the last few
Hmm.
times. So could this be the one? Let's go
Man,
with it. Let's go
I
with
do
it.
believe it. Yeah, I do believe it. I think he's going to get the job done, man. Trust me. Trust me. He's going to get a shoey afterwards.
Yeah, definitely. And he's far from the area, but still down under. Down
Absolutely.
under, we'll get a shoey. Look, Rosenstrike's definitely had his downs and ups
Yeah.
as well, but he's a real opponent. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
much respect for him. I think this could be 50-50, to be honest, but I'm going to go with
Yeah.
Tai.
Yeah.
And then we got Li Jing Liang versus Carlos uh, Pradas. How do you see that?
Yes. The Brazilian. Man, again, like a non-ANZ fight. Like, there's no ANZ talent in either side of that fight, like the red or the blue corner. But I can see why that's a main card opener, because they're two real, firefight. Like, as in, they bring the heat. They both stand and strike. It's going to be one of those fights where, like, it's going to be an exciting fight. It's going to be a good main card opener, I think, to get the crowd warmed up. I don't think many people know much of Carlos Pradas, but he's a savage striker. And Li Jingliang, man, we don't need no introduction. He's a much loved fighter across the globe, you know. And then I'm not surprised they got him in here, because it's not too far of a trip from China. He's also coming back after a layoff. He's a back injury, which was a scary one. So I mean, man, we wish him all the best, and like, good to have him back. And I'm excited to see him back. And I'm actually going to give him the nod. I feel like he's going to get the job done.
Nice, nice. I think that'll be an interesting start to the main event. Um, Not saying it's the best start to
Yeah,
in terms of the matchup, but two guys that definitely love to get after it. Li Jing Liang definitely is a crowd favorite, like you said. He's had his moments. I'm rooting for him, and I think this one's going to be so close. Right, I really can't split them, but I got to go with my prediction, and that is the same as you
man,
again.
all five aligned. That's the first, right? We've never had one where we've had, like, I think we've had like four max, but this is like for the first time we've had five. We're picking the same guys. Yeah, done.
Yep, yeah, it's pretty clear. I think like
Yep,
if you're going off just the local energy, why not? Yeah, these guys will get on a roll with the locals. But how do you
yep,
see the prelims? Right, we've got tougher, the feature
man. Yeah,
prelim.
it's a pretty self-explanatory fight, man. Like, I think they're just gonna, like, go at it. It's gonna go in typical heavyweight fashion. Junior Tafa is a very, very good kickboxer. He's extremely. I mean, he took a fight on short notice, I believe, not too long ago, and like almost, got, like. I mean, obviously it's tough ask to. I think it was like a 5 day. I don't know. It was a very short notice fight, and he's such a game opponent. Like, that's just an example of how ready to fight he is. And he's fighting another brother of a different fighter. He's fighting Walter Walker, brother of your friend Johnny Walker, and so it's a, can't even say the battle of the brothers. Um, so pretty good fight. I think Junior Taffar's going to get the job done. He's a savage. He's going to get it done. Then we got Colibao taking on Ricardo Ramos, and this is another thing I like about this card, man, is that it's not just stacked heavily in favor of the local talent. The opponents that they've been given are pretty talented opponents as well. So you got to make mention of that. So yeah, man, Colibao and Ramos, that's a pretty exciting fight. Casey O'Neill, obviously trains out of Vegas, but is a local. She's fighting Luana Santos. Jack Jenkins, Melbourne boy, he's coming back. Victoria, he's coming back. He's fighting a big name in Herbert Burns. Herbert Burns has had his ups and downs, but he's got that name, Herbert Burns, and also, man, he has some moments too. He's extremely talented on the ground. We know that. So you got Herbert Burns. Who do we have in the early prem? We'll have Tom Nolan, another local talent, fighting Alex Reyes, Cannon, Glenn. Yeah, man, some top to bottom local talent and some good fights. And like I said, this is a card that I will be tuning in quite early because it is a card that warrants that. One, yes, I'm invested to see how the local talent perform. I do want to see them do well. Two, they're also all exciting fights.
Really, really exciting. And we're not just saying that because for a prelim, like I said, Tuffer, Coolabau, Casey O'Neill, Jack Jenkins, Herbert Burns, like you said, Walter Walker, fireworks in this one. The crowd is going to be hyped early. And just want to once again salute to the local crowd because for us, for the US audience or overseas, you guys may not understand or fully appreciate that we always get the timing of these cards are super early on a Sunday morning, right? And while the local people get it, normally the locals in the US will get it prime time. We'll have to get in the rhythm early, and it's different. It really is. It's not for everyone in terms of some people aren't even up DJ at that time.
Man, but I'll tell you what, one of these days, not too far in the future, I reckon we will start getting Saturday night fights for us when it's happening here. One day, trust me and you will be chugging along, having a beer at 6 p.m. and going into a fight night or a UFC pay per view in Marvel Stadium or Rod Laver. It's probably not in the too distant future. So let's hope it happens. Man, like it has to, right? Like, I mean, you can look at all this talent from the US, sorry, the UK, Australia. You gotta cater to the local audience. You know what I mean? Like, I do know there's adjustments made for the UAE cards and Dubai cards, but what what I and I understand, obviously there's a lot of stakes involved in that, a lot of investment from that regions. But again, I think I do feel like I think their biggest fear is that the US audience won't tune in. But with the quality of cards the UFC's been putting out, I doubt that. I feel like they will. I think they will tune in. And they for once could do a Sunday barbecue. You know what I mean? Or a Saturday barbecue. I don't know.
I've kind of got to think they might even have some in the clause, DJ, with the broadcasters. Like
Yep.
as
Yeah.
let's say ESPN will sign on this deal for you,
Yep.
on the provision that we make sure we get the maximum ratings that we can get, with prime time US. So maybe like
Yeah.
I'm sure the lifeblood of the organization is broadcast rights as
Broadcast.
opposed to
Yeah.
gate sales, for tickets.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%, man. 100%. That's how they make because you have only limited pay per views a year, and there's more fight nights than pay per views, and most of the time the way they make money is through broadcast.
Yep. Well, yeah, this one's exciting, and we can't wait. Um, it's been a pleasure breaking it down with you, DJ, and for the first time ever, I think all our predictions are the same. So we'll wonder, will either all be right or all be wrong?
Man, let's see how it goes. But either way, we'll get the correct amount. We'll both be like in the same boat in terms of how many we get right and how many we get wrong.
Yeah, and as always, we'll grade the card and break
Yep.
it down early next week, and we'll hopefully be talking about what is an absolute banger. Like the names are there, the matchups are there. DJ, final thoughts?
Man, tune in. Like it's a card that's worth tuning in. One of the best cards. It's not just the talents there. The matchups are great. The championship fight is one for the ages. There's a storyline to it. Skill wise, the best fighting the best. Man, absolute banger. What's there not to love about this card? Like pretty excited. Sunday can't come soon enough.
Yeah, comeback story, Rocky kind of storylines, everything. And thanks for listening, guys. Excited for this one. Hopefully, we get the best one ever. and 305 preview in the books. See you for the recap. That's a tap.